Copilot is changing. It's changing rapidly. And we ask you to help your customers get ready for being in the unknown. Help your clients and your customers understanding that the world is changing and it's never going to be the same. And it's changing rapidly on a daily basis or on a weekly or monthly basis. So help your customers adapt, help them with their growth mindset, for example, or help them with a new way of thinking or working or learning. So that's also something we need to take into account. The tool is rapidly changing as well, and you have to build a habit. And that's the hard part, because how are you going to build a habit on a tool that's changing?
Hey there, and welcome to Beta Talks, the podcast. I'm Rick.
And I'm Oscar.
And today we are joined by Carina de Vries, Microsoft MVP for Teams and Copilot, founder of Workspace Heroes, and one of the strongest voices in practical Microsoft 365 and Copilot adoption. Welcome, Carina.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, guys.
It's so great to have you on. That's actually quite the statement. One of the strongest voices in practical Microsoft 365 and Copilot adoption. Where does the passion for that adoption come from?
Well, that started a long time ago. When I started my career, I worked at a supermarket because I didn't know how to work with computers. So I thought, well, maybe I should stick in the supermarket. And my parents didn't have enough money to pay for education, after my HAVO, as we call it in Dutch. I was obliged to find myself a job. So I did, and I stuck with the supermarket, the local supermarket in our village. So it made me really small that I didn't know how to work with computers. And I just stuck with, this is what I know, this is what I can, this is where my budget is. And then I got fired, I got laid off. So I had to open my world up. And the funny thing, and I think it's a counterpoint starting early on in my career, was when I walked into the, what's it called? An uitzendbureau in English, guys, help me with this. The recruitment agency, that's the best word. And she knew me because she was the lady who joined my cashier every Saturday morning. And then I walked in and said, hey, what you're doing here? And I said, yeah, I got laid off. Well, then I know something. This is the best job for you, but you have to work with computers and I'm going to help you. And that was early on in my career. And I really, guys, and it's not a joke, I really didn't know how to turn on a computer. I didn't even know what we all know now what the turn on and off button is for a computer, but I didn't know that in the early days. So that's where it's somewhere stuck with me that it's important that you have someone or something or kind of a helpline or a lifeline that's going to help you say, I know that you're scared for something new, but this is important and I see something in you and I'm going to help you. So that's where the passion started.
That's quite the origin story there. You had that person yourself that actually guided you through and helped you gain the confidence to actually start working with that computer?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that somebody in the job that you then joined, or who was that person for you?
Well, alongside my career, I had the privilege of meeting people who saw something in me. And that's not so much what kind of skills do I have, but more of who am I as a person. So that's the thing to start with. Skills is something you can learn, and I was really fortunate with managers who saw something in my personality and said to me, "What do you need to grow?" So I think along the way, I got lucky with a lot of management around me.
So I actually have a couple of people around me who are working in tech, but still, for instance, I'm going to call it hesitant to, for instance, start vibe coding now that we have all of those AI agents helping us, because they still think, oh, but what if I break something? And I think that's true for a lot of people when using computers, but what if I break stuff? What if I delete the file that I really need? Or Was that something that held you back in the beginning as well?
Yes, of course. If you don't understand technology you're working with, okay, it's like, if we make it simpler, it's like riding a car, for example. You don't get into a car most people don't get into a car, to be honest, if you don't feel like that you know how to ride it. You're laughing already, because we all know these youngsters who are willing to try before they're 18. But in general, most people don't start to drive a car if they don't understand what's going on. Because you understand in prior that if you drive a car, it's going to be harmful if you don't know how to use it. And that's something you can see, you know. You can actually see if a car drives and I don't manage or control it, I can relate to that something can go wrong. And I think that's the main problem in general with IT and software solutions, and especially with AI. It's hard for people to relate to the understanding of the impact. So if people aren't able to have a clear view on what the technology is or what it can bring or what it should do, then it's also hard to have a kind of an understanding of what could go wrong. So I think that's something that we as IT professionals should bring to the work floor. Understand what the impact is of this technology, and make sure that you help people know how to use it. And that's something that we as IT professionals can really, really dive into.
Yeah, I think this point in time is really important. Again, like also since the first time, indeed, the first IBMs landed on the desktops.
You're showing your age now.
I wasn't there even. Like, that's really old. But like it is such a shift, and I think we as IT professionals will underestimate, because we are doing like learning the new JavaScript framework every 3 months and whatever. For years and years, we live at the edge of our comfort zone constantly. And we know it's like, okay, this is just another thing. I'll dive in, I'll find out. And sometimes we're hesitant. Sometimes, like in the years before, people would postpone, like, yeah, those containers, I don't know. Like, and at some point it's like, yeah, of course, default.
Yeah.
Same with, indeed, you say, like assisted coding now. People postpone it and then they'll embrace it and they're fine. But like, we underestimate that most other professionals on the work floor do not do this every year, every 2 years, or
Fair
whatever.
enough.
This is a big shift.
Yeah.
You need to go all the way there to help them cross the edge and then land safely.
I do think that one of the things that really helps nowadays is, I actually said that to the person I was talking to this week. We used to have that one computer somewhere in the attic, and then you could actually literally break it, sometimes even by shaking, because we still had the moving disks. But also deleting a file was permanent. Now we have cloud backups. We have, a ton of things that also allow us to, even when you make a mistake and maybe you do delete that file or whatever, we still have a couple of ways to get that data back for you, or to revitalize your computer.
So much tooling around it, so many safety procedures. But like, that's also one of the concepts. Like, I was also having the discussion this week about some other departments, like doing a bit more AI first workflows and then creating skills and stuff. For us, like, oh yeah, but you just throw that in a repo and make some markdown. It's like, it's alien. Like version control. That's not something everyone does. It is there, but like, it's, again, there's a lot of, like, I think we call them forward deployed engineers and stuff now, but consultancy is really back.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
but
especially if you...
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Oscar,
go ahead.
You're really hitting a point there, because you say, yeah, people know their security. We have cloud backups. Rick, you also said that. But we know, we three in this call, we know, but I come across a lot of companies and employees who don't know. They don't understand the technology. Purview, what's that? MFA, what's that? You know? So for us, that's all normal language, but they don't even understand the language, let alone understand what it's supposed to do or help them. So and that's also something, Rick, that you said on earlier. It tackles what you need to do as an IT expert is tackle 2 things. And I really think that we need to do that as an IT community. One is understand that you probably walk 7 steps ahead. That's the first thing that you need to, if you listen to this conversation and think like, okay, what do I need to grab on and what do I need to remember from this call today is 7. Just remember 7. And if you remember 7, then you hopefully understand, you are 7 steps ahead of your colleague or your surrounding. The other thing is happiness. An IT expert usually gets very happy and excited about the newest technology. Well, I'm probably not the best example of an IT techie because I don't usually get excited about technology because I always understand how am I going to make my colleagues or my customers happy with this technology. So 7 and happy. And if IT community is going to understand that, then I'm happy too after this conversation.
Yeah, but in the end, if we take a few steps back, I think this might be true for a lot of professions, right? Because if you go heavily into construction, or like yesterday we had a .NET Site meeting at Cubus, which is a BIM modeling company. If you listen to their internal conversations, you think, what are you even talking about? And it's also, quote unquote, just about software development, but in this case, to their specific knowledge. The thing is, IT is everywhere and everybody's using it. So the problem is that the jargon that we use also spills out to all of those users. And then we have that problem of trying to make it understandable for everybody what we're actually doing.
Indeed. Yes.
So you went from not being able to use a computer to now being a Microsoft MVP for Teams and Copilot. Is that something that it's maybe not something you aspired to be when you started using computers, but is that something that actually validates your journey in tech?
I think so. A few years ago, there was a Microsoft rule that you weren't able to become a Microsoft certified trainer if you didn't have the technical certifications. But I'm not a techie and I really don't understand PowerShell. I've tried it, I've taken my courses, but it's not something I can relate to. So becoming a certified trainer from a Microsoft perspective is very hard for someone like me. But I do make an impact on training and guiding people. So I kind of got stuck in this is the route I want to take, but it's not leading me anywhere. So how can I make people understand technology is important, but it's also important to help your colleagues and your surrounding with it. So I shifted my mindset into, okay, that's not leading me to anything, not the road I want to be joining or going to. So what can I do to have my voice heard? And then I started working with Dutch Women in Tech, which is a Dutch community for helping women get into IT, but even more, keeping them in an IT organization or in an IT role. And alongside the way, I got to start to know the community better, and I started understanding that there's so much more about sharing your knowledge and being helpful for other people in their IT journey. So, and that's also a shift that Microsoft took along the way. Becoming a Microsoft 365 MVP or becoming a Microsoft MVP in general is nowadays much more about how do you use your voice to help other people. And that's what I've been doing all my years. So I still had to check in the box, are you an MCT? I still have to say no. It's not going to happen somewhere. It's not in the cards for me. But I do cover all the other topics that an MVP should do. I share my knowledge. I share it with the right people. I help people grow and develop, and I help people into a new IT job. So yeah, I guess, yeah.
No, because if you look at the small list that we found is IT adoption speaker, expert, a speaker, a founder of the Workspace Heroes, spoke at Ignite. I mean, that's a thing. You're a board member for Dutch Women in Tech now, and you are part of the Experts Live NL core team. Yeah. So you're really putting yourself out there as a knowledge sharer, which I think is a very good thing because, like you said earlier, it's important for people to understand that IT is your friend.
It is. And that's also where I found it, where I got my company name from, Workspace Heroes. I believe everyone can be an IT hero. And I chose Workspace because I believe there's more in an IT job or in your job than just Microsoft or Teams. So that's why I chose a broader name. But it's really about being a hero. So customers who I work with receive socks, and they're the heroes on socks. You probably know it as a saying, but it's a Dutch saying that I really believe you can start on socks, but you can end with a cape. So sometimes I hand out golden capes to people who are really helpful in the community or in their company. And it's kind of a gimmick that I try to help people understand. You can make IT fun. You can make it accessible. You can make it really easy. And it's helping people get off their socks. So...
It's pretty nice, actually. And I never thought about the Held Up Sokken that you were referring to as being part of the inspiration for the Workspace Heroes.
Yeah, my brain went to Security Operations Center first. So I was
socks.
a bit distracted.
Socks. Yeah. Oh, socks. SOC. But I mean the SOCK. Yeah.
I got it at some point.
One of the things that is in your list of topics that you wanted to talk about is actually really interesting. And that's the fact that you say turning it on is not making it work. And I think that's very, very true in the realm in which you're working currently. Could you maybe, for those listening, explain why you think that is true?
Well, that statement came already from implementing SharePoint in Teams. So what I saw a long time ago is we magically think that if we store our documents in a SharePoint or Teams folder or location or a channel, whatever location you're storing it, people would understand how it works. But I still saw people using email to send a document as an attachment. So we still have to explain, even today, how it is possible to share a document as a link. And SharePoint is already 25 years old. Teams is already more than 8 years old, and we're still explaining this. So how is that possible? So that got me curious on why are we turning it on, but people still don't understand it. And one of the big reasons for that is that once a IT tooling goes live, we just start with a one-off training. And it's almost everywhere I go, still for the 14 years that I do this work, it's just one training, if you're lucky. Because I talked to a healthcare institution not long ago. They have more than 10,000 employees here in the Netherlands. And someone rang me and she said, I am following you on a daily basis on LinkedIn. And I just need to share something with you. And she told me, we turned Teams on during COVID. And especially as a care organization, we understand we needed COVID, but no one explained it to us. And we were in stress because we had to help our clients during a very stressful period. But we also had to learn new technology. And there was a really high burnout rate or depression rate and people who were feeling mentally ill. And then now, 5-6 years later, she asked me just one simple question. And that was, and I'm not kidding, this was really what she rang me for. There's one single frustration that's really bugging me. And that is, if I open a document in Teams, it opens in the browser, but I want to work with it in a desktop app. Please help me explain. I made a small video for her, made a small explanation, showed her the support.office.com website, and she gave me the best tearing up reaction afterwards, because it was so simple. And then, of course, guys, you understand that I rang the CIO of that company and he never replied. So, because I thought I really want to help you, such an organization. I do a lot of pro bono work as well, especially for these kind of organizations. if I can help you with just one single webinar about these kind of topics, I will. So please call me if you have these kind of issues. But that's I think the best example I currently still have about. If you turn it on, it's not the same as that people are going to use it as the tooling is mentioned or meant to be. And it's not going to be as beneficial as you as an IT manager or IT expert would have thought prior to implementing the tools.
Yeah, but like it's turning it on and like even what you mentioned, like the first time training. You will get an avalanche of all kinds of things you cannot place yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
You learn tricks, and after that you start doing the work, and what you remember and really need to know, you remember.
Yeah.
But like actually improving the cycle, the second one is much more important. And you can do that internally because your work will change, your interactions will change. Before and after and during COVID, like completely different shifts of working.
But also the tools change, right?
And the tools change.
The tools change tremendously and very fast nowadays. So why can't you keep up with that with getting continuous training or continuous learning?
And you don't need to know everything. You don't need to have to go to the bottom of all the tools. But like the first training, it's kind of mandatory that you need to know something, entry level, turning it on, using it for the first time. But it's much more important to, I think, especially for those kind of companies, just be on the floor, put someone with technical expertise, like a bit of a builder mentality, especially now with the next shift, which is AI supports everything. It's like, okay, you're doing this, but let me just try something out with this workflow. Like, let me simplify it, because people will just continue the same thing. And especially as IT people, I think we're always surprised, like, are you really printing that out and then scanning it back in to get it to the other computer? Like, stupid example, but it feels like that sometimes for us.
Yeah,
and that's maybe your 7 steps is like, they just don't see it, and that's logical because that's not their thing. This is our 4-climb thing. So we should be there. We should be on the floor, seeing their process, understanding their processes.
But we've always had that issue with business IT alignment, right? That we have a question from the business and then somebody from IT thinking, what now?
Yeah, but that's also, you need to still understand the business in the end.
Yeah.
Because IT is supportive. Like,
that's why you need to be there together and working on that together to improve it. And I think, Carina, especially now with Microsoft 365, Copilot and all those tools, there's no such thing as turning it on and then making it work.
No, and still
making it work by just turning it on. That's what I mean. Because especially all of the data
run away from you.
Oh yeah. So how do you guide organizations into having the right data set in place and making sure that the rights are in order? And that's some probably a multi-step approach as well, right?
Well, there's a couple of things that we need to tackle with Microsoft Copilot or generative AI implementations in general. Because I do see organizations who are still giving employees a training. I think that's good still. But the more, if there's a shift in what you could do, like Teams is still making documents and still storing your document. It's not really a innovative new way of working, so to say. But if you really want to have the best out of your Copilot licenses, then you should understand to what kind of daily tasks or repetitive tasks or boring tasks or whatever task you want to help AI you with, which of those tasks do I really want to grab and make it a daily habit? And I think that's the problem that we see. IT sees it as a tool, but if you want to use the tool at its best, you have to make sure that you embed it in your daily routines. And that's a real problem that we have to tackle. So that's also why I spoke on Ignite. How do you tackle that thing? And that's that has to do with understanding the tool. It has to understand the pace of the tool, because at our Microsoft MVP summit, we as MVPs, we always get a heads up of what's coming in March. And the funny thing is, in multiple sessions, we got the comment, please be aware, Copilot is changing. It's changing rapidly. And we ask you to help your customers get ready for being in the unknown. Help your clients and your customers understanding that the world is changing and it's never going to be the same. And it's changing rapidly on a daily basis or on a weekly or monthly basis. So help your customers adapt, help them with their growth mindset, for example, or help them with a new way of thinking or working or learning. So that's also something we need to take into account. The tool is rapidly changing as well, and you have to build a habit. And that's the hard part, because how are you going to build a habit on a tool that's changing? That's the difficult part. So what I spoke about is if I want to make the best use of generative AI, I first need to understand how my car rides again, So back to the car. I need to understand how the tool works, but I foremost need to understand how AI works. So that's something that you can build on a daily basis. So the best examples I give in the starting point is just make sure that a daily task like writing an email is reviewed by Copilot, and just start with something simple. So find the use cases that are very simple in your organization, which can be done by many people, and start building a cadence. And the cadence that I want you to start is something that you make sure that on a daily or a weekly or a monthly basis, whatever suits your organization, but build a cadence, and that you build in that cadence sharing knowledge, peer reviewing, buddy systems, community help. So build in multiple support and learning lines, and make sure that there's a rhythm in the supporting lines. And it's not just about the content. Content, of course, is important, but I really want to try to make people understand that it's about building a rhythm. It's building new routines. It's building something in your daily job. And that's also helpful if you start learning on a daily job. And if you start understanding that you have to do something about your IT skills or your AI skills on a regular basis. So that's the thing I talked about during Ignite. That talk is also available on YouTube on the tech community site, where I explained that cadence a little bit more in just 20 minutes. So I think that's doable to have a look on that.
We'll make sure to add a link to the description of this
Yeah,
episode.
of course. Yeah. So I think that's the difficult part we need to tackle.
Yeah. If you push this narrative in a company and you try to consult there, or do you get a lot of resistance there? Because it's all kind of different people. Some of them is I'm whatever, medical professional. I'm I shouldn't be thinking about this. I don't want to learn. I don't want to change my habits. I'm always doing it this way. Like the everlasting sentence that gets you thrown out of the window.
Yeah.
But do you get pushback, or is everyone open for change, or?
Well, I think that's an open door to ask. People are always. There are always people who are happy to learn, and always people who aren't, or aren't ready to learn at the first step. So resistance is always there, and I think that's also my age nowadays, that I more understand where resistance comes from. And that's also I think the best thing that I learned along the way in my career is, what does the resistance of the other do with me? How do I respond to the resistance of the person in front of me? And that's that's a bit strange for us as IT professionals to think about it, because the IT resistance of the other does something to me. I get agitated, or I get nervous, or I don't know how to respond to that, or I don't understand the person, or whatever. What's it going to do with me? And if I understand what resistance does to me, I can also better understand the other. Because if you can go beyond your own resistance to the person who comes with the resistance, it's kind of a philosophical. But it's really helpful to understand the person. If you've done that and you've done that work, that internal work, what resistance does to you, then you can really go and talk to people about their resistance, because it's never about, I don't want to do this. It's always about the timing is off. I don't have the time. I have to make choices in my work. I do want to learn, but I don't have permission from my manager to learn. And sometimes it's, I do not like this technology, but it's more or less, or most of the times, it has something to do with something else. So I think that's
the fear of the unknown, right? And then,
exactly.
And then you tend to go into convincing mode and say, no, but you should really. And then the other one is only going to resist further, and then,
even more.
Yeah, it's not going to be better.
No, so understand what it does with you first was really helpful for me, because I'm a people person. I want to help people. And then if someone says to me, yeah, I don't like this, and who thought of this idea, and why do we have to use Teams, and I want to stay on my Apple laptop, and then, hello, I'm just here because your boss wanted to be me to be. So I'm trying to help you. So I got those voices in my head. So once I turned those voices off, or started really listening to the person in front of me, I just want to invite everyone who listens and say, okay, what's the real reason someone doesn't want to move? And another thing, and that's also something I talked about, for example, with Jeroen Jansen, he calls some of these people, you always have azijnzeikers, as we call that in Dutch. I don't know if there's a good word for it in English.
The sourpuss. That's a sourpuss.
Yeah,
right?
no. There are always those kind of peoples. And also something I learned along the way, do ignore those people. Dare to ignore those people, because they are dragging you and your organization down. Focus on the people who are running, who are building the cases, who are building the use cases, the best examples. Go towards that. It's much more fun to work with those peoples. It's really helpful because they are building the examples that you need to convince the other people. So,
and hopefully it's the majority of the group.
Of course.
But also, my experience also, there's always a person that is super critical, like upfront, and feels like a big resistance. But if you win that one over,
then you're good to go.
Then you're good. The rest will follow. Like if they everyone will see them as like, okay, if this person is doing this, like I feel a bit silly not doing it. And I always look for them first somehow, because you team up with them. It's like, okay, thanks, you're critical, nice, because this shouldn't be a dream. It's not it's not a silver bullet. Please correct me. Please push back on me.
Yeah.
Let's do this together, because if it doesn't work, we shouldn't do it. And then they're on your side.
Yeah.
And
take them along
and they
for
will
the journey.
feel open to give criticism and whatever. But it will be a much more honest conversation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they turn into that person that ignores it, and becomes the sourpuss. And like, okay, this was never my thing. I'll leave or whatever.
Yeah. See, it's not working. I told you so.
Yeah. And you saw that like in everything. Like you saw that with agile working and with all the things in the past. Cloud, like I love my service. Yeah, I loved coding, but I'm not doing much of it now nowadays.
Oscar, just a quick side note. Do you happen to know what time it is?
It's time for a totally random question.
It's time for a totally random question.
Okay. Here comes Carina. What is a piece of technology that you secretly miss? And it can be simple technology, of course. Anything.
A technology I miss.
Can also be a technology product, because while you think, I'm going to give. We started watching a new series on Netflix with the family.
You miss your old Walkman?
No, it's not that old. But it is a couple of years old, and it's a Dutch series. However, there's Windows phones in them.
No, I still have it.
I see the beautiful Lumia with Lumia.
Lumia.
Yeah. Lumia. Wow.
Lumia.
So, see, that's how old it is. But I see the beautiful crafted devices, and I see the blocks on the screen, and I think, good times.
Oh.
Well, thank you for giving me some time to think about it. I think the thing that I miss most is the downside of technology. And mental health is also a topic I like talking about. So that's something that I really want to express. Being on a digital era that we currently are on also means that we are almost all the time digitally on in our heads. So I think that I do miss the time that I could really switch off, especially for someone like me who has a very busy head and is like a popcorn head sometimes, and everything pops up, and then I have a new idea, and that's also very very hard to be online every time and all the time. So I think it's not the technology. I don't think that I miss technology somewhere, but I do miss the times being off.
It's actually
you missed the lack of technology.
Yeah, but it's funny that you say so, because I've had my motorcycle driver license for like 30 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of weeks ago, I went out for a day motorcycle driving with my brother-in-law. We had a lot of fun. We drove through Belgium and Germany. And what actually stands out most of that day for me is the fact I couldn't look at my smartwatch. I couldn't take my phone. You are there. The helmet is on. Mm-hmm. You have no possibility of doing anything with technology other than the machine that you're on.
Mm-hmm.
That was such a great time. It's just a day. I don't have to look at those notifications. I'm not even taking it out of my pocket. I'm just enjoying whatever I'm doing besides technology. It was bliss. So
well,
yes,
and it's bringing something else as well, because it's bringing mental silence, as they call it. And in the silence, creativity understands. And especially if you go back to Copilot and AI, we need to have our creativity ready to be able to think about new solutions. So it feels like it's hard to have that day not being on your phone. It's kind of weird feeling, I think. But it's also very helpful, and it's only going to be beneficial for other things, your daily jobs.
Yeah, I started a new side project after that.
See?
Yeah. Well, that's also the thing. Like you can be fully disconnected, but make sure you bring at least a notepad or something.
Yeah. We had 2 stops, and I might have taken some notes along the way. Yeah. There's that. Carina, is there anything that you would like to get back to, or anything that you would like to add to the things that we've already discussed today?
Well, I'm first off, very happy that you invited me here, especially with your target audience. I feel like the audience that listens to your podcast is exactly the audience that I would love to get my message to, and that is make it simple. Keep it simple. Try to understand your target audience better. And come down from the attic every every now and then. So I feel like this is very helpful for me to share my story, that adoption and technology should be simpler and easier to use.
And it was great having you on the show to be able to do that. So thank you so much for being our guest.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
You so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Better Talks, the podcast. Better Talks is made possible by Betterwit Managed Software Development.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.